Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending the 4 biggest marketing mistakes that are costing you money. I'm your host, Sarah Sims, the Director of Business Development at TherapySites, and we're really glad you could be here today. Our presenter is Greer Van Dyke, and she is one of our internet marketing experts over here at TherapySites. Greer is going to be sharing with you marketing mistakes that you cannot afford to be making in your business and give you essential information about the most effective way to attract new clients and create a successful private practice. Greer is an expert in online website marketing specifically for mental health professionals, and Greer has such a wealth of information to share with you today that not only gets you up to speed on the #1 way to market and grow your business, but she also adds the important specialized knowledge of marketing a therapy practice. So let's get started. I give you Greer Van Dyke.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're really excited that y'all are here. I wanted to just take care of a few logistical pieces before we go ahead and get started. Like Sarah said, my name is Greer Van Dyke, and welcome to the 4 biggest marketing mistakes. So I want to make sure everyone can hear me okay. If you guys wouldn't mind typing to Sarah in the WebEx chat feature that all the sound is okay, and I'll know that'll give me kind of the go-ahead to keep going. Great. Okay, great. And additionally, if anyone has any questions during the webinar, I really want to make this as much of a conversation with you guys as I can. Definitely don't hesitate to type your questions into the chat feature as well, and I'll try to incorporate them into my presentation so that your voices can be heard, et cetera, so that I can meet y'all's needs as well, in addition to educating you on some really important information. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So there are over 1.5 million people searching for a therapist online each month. Can they find you? We're really going to discuss the importance of having, a strong presence online. And the reality is that 1.5 million people searching each month, that's a huge audience. How are you appealing to them? How can they find you? So what will be covered during this presentation? I'm really going to touch in on some disturbing marketing trends that have been going on in the mental health industry, over the past 20 years up until current time. I'm also going to touch base on the 4 online marketing mistakes that every mental health practitioner must overcome in order to survive, and what you have to do in order to thrive in this current economy. It affects everybody now, professionally, personally, and what you can do. I'm going to show you some really great steps on how you can, rise above, the state of the economy right now. So looking at some significant trends in the mental health field, in the past 15 years, the number of people seeking mental health treatment has doubled to reach 25 million people. When asked the value of a therapy investment, almost 100% of therapy clients said that their investment in a mental health professional was well worth the money. So you're seeing not only your audience increasing, but you're also seeing the audience, really adhering to this profession. They want this kind of guidance. They want that, human-to-human relationship with you. There are more mental health professionals now than ever before, helping, care for and treat for the growing incidence of mental illness. So, the audience is growing and the competition is growing. And when you see competition, it's hard to think of it in that sense because, it is, the human experience. That's what this work is all about. And yet it is about being competitive. It's about setting yourself apart from others. How are you going to be different? Additional significant trends: 1 in 4 women and 1 in 10 men will be treated for depression at some point in their lives. Really what that's saying is it's common. It's all over the place, and over the last 20 years, the number of mental health visits has nearly doubled, like I said. So it's, people are seeking out this, they're okay with the stigmas that are associated with seeking out a therapist. They're becoming more and more relaxed about what it means to see a therapist. So it's interesting to see those kind of statistics, shift. What does the future look like? Now, what I'm talking about here is, what is the state of communication? What are we in? There are over 2 billion internet users worldwide. If Facebook were a country with its 695 million users today, it would be the 3rd largest in the world. There are 148 plus million LinkedIn users, and YouTube stands behind Google as the second largest search engine on the internet. And there are over 164 million active blogs. Couples are coming together from the internet. 1 out of 8 couples. It's incredible. So what I'm saying is, the internet is the future. People are online more now than ever before. Entire homes are online. Everyone has turned digital, and it's not just professionally, but it's personally as well, But this is the way that you enhance your business. This is the way that you become marketable. The internet has become a fundamental shift in the way that we live our lives. And relating to that as well, the question now isn't whether or not you need a website. The question is how well you do it. So you've got to be online. That's where everybody is. So it's interesting to see, too, like those traditional marketing methods. Those are slowly, phasing out. Newspaper ads are phasing out. And circulation of newspapers is decreasing more and more each day. 23 of the 25 major newspapers that are in circulation right now have fallen under. So it's interesting to see all of that happen as well. So I did get a question. Is that 25 million total across 15 years or 25 million per year? Okay, thank you for clarifying. That number actually is over the last 15 years, so that's what I was discussing. That's not each year. Thank you for that clarity. That was regarding the significant trends. So the challenges of being a successful mental health care practitioner. Given these market demands, so you're seeing people obviously wanting this service. Why are so many mental health professionals struggling? And some of the top reasons for practices failing is, there's not enough money for effective marketing. And the money that is put aside for marketing is spent ineffectively. And, mental health care practitioners who are settling for mediocre technical solutions. So it's really becoming related to how effectively you want to be online. It's not just a matter of if you want to be online or not. It's a matter of how you're going to do it and how well you're going to do it. If you have no clients, then you have no money, and then you have no success. So it's all about, the lifestyle that you want. I know all of you want to be successful, and it's about being online. It's about being strongly placed online. So like I said, the question isn't whether or not you need a website. The question is how well you do it. Business is happening online. It isn't a fad. Don't assume that, I have plenty of, people who are seeking out my services. Oh, my practice is always full. And, it's great that could be, the reality for you, but also can you rely on that? Can you rely that will always be the case? So, it's about the way you do business. And if you want to be successful, you have to be part of this game. And it is a game. It's about having an effective website. It's about marketing yourself online. And it's about being networked online. It's not just about having a website that exists, in the middle of, cyberspace. It's about being networked, being connected. And that's really what it's all about. So can the 1.5 million people searching online find you? First question, do you have a website? If you don't have a website, why not? The website is the business card of the 21st century. It is the way people relate professionally to one another. It is not having a website, honestly, it sets you apart and not necessarily in a positive way. So it's really important that you have a website. What is the feeling? How does missing out on new clients impact your practice? If you don't have a website, you're missing out on new clients. You don't have a presence online, and how does that feel? How does that translate for you? If you do have a website, do you spend time working with unavailable web designers who aren't familiar with the mental health industry, who don't understand HIPAA compliance, or who don't know how to reach your target market? Are you spending those dollars that are set aside for marketing on a website that's not bringing you clients? Is it search engine optimized? Those are really important questions to ask. And what's the point of having a website if it isn't bringing you clients? Are you wasting your time and money on ineffective marketing? These questions are all very powerful, and it's all about you being related to the own success of your business. If you want to be successful in this new technological climate, you must be effectively marketing your practice online. It's the bottom line. So I keep kind of, referring to this game. What is the game? How do you win? I played basketball growing up, and I'll tell you, it isn't fun sitting on the bench. You want to be playing. You want to be point guard. You want to be making those shots. So during this presentation, I'm going to give you easy ways to draw traffic to your website, being part of that game. I'm going to show you steps how to market yourself effectively online, and I'm going to demonstrate how you can effectively and powerfully have a website do this for you. So that's the game. The game is having an effective, networked website. How do you win? I'm going to show you how. So the intention of this presentation, these are the 4 biggest marketing mistakes that are costing you money right now. Number 1, not having a website. I apologize for that being cut off. The first image, this person sitting alone in the stands watching the game. You're watching the game happening in front of you, and you're alone in it. That is what not having a website can do to you. Not having an industry-specialized website developer. I use the basketball analogy, and it's like being on a basketball team and having a hockey coach. The coach doesn't understand. He wants you to, shoot the puck into the goal. It's not about basketball strategy. He's in a totally different playing field. So if you're working with someone who isn't industry specialized and doesn't know this mental health target market, what benefit is it providing you? Number 3, not being listed on directories. This is the teamwork part. This is you having those guys beside you high-fiving you. If you're not listed on directories, who are you networked in with? Who is your team? It's like that website. You've got the website, but it exists, and you're out, in cyberspace alone. So you want that team with you. Being networked on directories is essential for having an effective website. And the last thing is not having cohesive business branding. You want all of those promotional products, so envelopes, letterheads, business cards. You want all of that to match your website. Why? Here you've got this Lakers fan. It'd be weird if he had, a sign that, was benefiting, the Atlanta Thrashers. It doesn't quite make sense. You want all of your business branding to be consistent, because what it communicates to your onlookers is professionalism, accountability, and a really, really good intention for what you do. So these all really play such a big role. So number 1, the 4 biggest marketing mistakes. Not having a website. Like I said, this woman, she's sitting in the stands, she's watching the game, but she's alone and she's not participating. This is the image. I really love this image. This is, how you can relate to not even having a website at all. You're existing ungrounded, disconnected in the middle of cyberspace, can't connect to anyone, you're not related to anyone, and you're floating, you're alone. And so it's just a powerful image for you to kind of relate to what it looks like to not have a website. You don't want to be out there floating. A little bit of a delay. So like I said, if you don't have a website, your competitors have a huge advantage over you. You're missing out on a chance to market yourself 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for free. That is what a website does. You are counting on people being able to access who you are and what you do anytime they want to. You're missing connecting with 99% of your target population. They are all online, and they're looking for your website. So if you don't have one, what good do you think that does you? So some of the disadvantages of not having a website, I touched a little bit on this earlier, but it's that diminished professional image, It's like I'm looking for a therapist, and I see one person who has a website, one person who doesn't. I am much more likely to invest my time and energy in looking at someone's website as opposed to seeing I don't have a website and then trying to look harder for more contact information for them, And it's about inconvenienced clients. What about those helpful forms that are on your website? Or, oh, hey, I can make a payment for my session through your website. If you don't have a website, how can your viewers be convenienced? Readings for your customers or clients, sorry about that. So it's about aiding to them and their needs as well. And inconvenienced clients, what about missed clients? Like I said, I'm much more likely to invest time and energy in someone who has a website as opposed to someone who doesn't. It's lost referrals. How can someone refer you? Oh, go check out their website that they don't have. It's a conversation piece that has to be in place. And realistically, like touching in on the heart space of this work, you want to make a difference in people's lives. You want that human relationship. And if you aren't able to access your clients, you're not able to make a difference, And it kind of hits that emotional piece as well. And for you, it's less money and compromised lifestyle. So for these reasons, who wants these and, these things to happen in their life? You have to have a website. So number 2, I kind of touched on this earlier. This is the hockey coach for the basketball team, not having an industry-specialized web developer. Why does this matter? So this matters for a few basic reasons. Number 1, HIPAA compliance. Number 2, search engine optimization, client forms, and mental health business tools. And I'll touch in more on each of these things, but you know these terms. This is why you have to have someone who is in the web development profession who understands mental health. The risk of not being HIPAA compliant. So this is really huge. The HIPAA compliant, landscape is constantly changing. They're constantly shifting their rules, laws, regulations. How are you going to stay current too if your website developer doesn't understand that changing landscape? If you aren't being HIPAA compliant, it leaves you vulnerable and exposed. You're suddenly at the risk of, keeping your client's professional information. It's not able to stay confidential, and noncompliance is actually a criminal offense. There is legal uproar from it as well, and over 10% of all legal lawsuits for mental health are HIPAA related. This is huge. This is such a big piece of the mental health profession as well, and you have to stay within these guidelines. For you, your licensure, for your clients, for their identity and everything. So it's important for a lot of reasons. Search engine optimization. This is so big. It's about those keywords, those industry-specific keywords, and having that industry-specific content all over your website. A search engine optimized website stands apart from one that isn't. It allows you to rank high in those search engines. And that's what it's all about. When people are doing the Google searches, you want them to be able to find your website. Sorry, I'm going to shift just really quickly back to the HIPAA compliant part. We had a question about, what defines a website as HIPAA compliant. And basically what that means is you want all of your information to be accessed, security, password protected. You want that really valuable information about your clients. You want that to be, secure so that other people can't just see it. You want the information to not be revealing in any way. You want to maintain those guidelines, because basically what HIPAA confidentiality means is you will not disclose information, and you will not have, information disclosed to the public, basically. So it's about having all of that software secured. You can manage your clients online. There is a way actually so that you can have a website and manage your clients through your website and have that HIPAA protected. So it's all about, making sure that people are not exposed. So I hope that did answer the question. And back to the search engine optimization piece, that search engine rankings, these are so big because realistically, 64% of people won't go past the first page on Google. So where do you want to be? You want to be on the first page of Google. And that's what search engine optimization is about. It's about being findable online. And it's about those industry-optimized domain names. Your web developer, if your web developer is unfamiliar with mental health, they don't know what those industry-specific terms that should be in your website title are supposed to be. So, I'm coaching and giving therapy. My name is Greer Van Dyke. What if, how would my web developer know to make my website www.greervandyketherapy.com? They wouldn't know that necessarily, and it's about the research, the knowledge, and the familiarity with the mental health industry, and it's about those page tags, description tags, title tags. You want all of that therapy and mental health related content and keywords integrated into all of that. They're what we call search engine spiders that are scouring the internet looking for optimized websites, and you have to have all of this structurally in place, or else search engine optimization won't be effective. So it's important just to start to understand that, an industry-specific web developer will understand not only search engine optimization, but mental health search engine optimization. So what I've done basically is I've taken a screenshot of a Google search, and what I wanted to show you, up here up top, the highlighted ads. You've got San Diego therapists in San Diego. These are all paid ads. To the right where the map is, you've got a map of the local listings, and below all of those as well, those are also paid advertisements. So people pay for those positions. Up here with the A, B, C, D, E, through G, these are the local listings. So it's really important not to be just listed on the major national search engines, but the local listings as well. I mean, they're right up there at the top. And then below, you've got the search engine rankings as well. So I just wanted to orient you to what a Google search looks like. So it's about being on all of those major search engines and the local listings as well. So earlier I touched on those client forms. What are these helpful forms that I talked about, and what is the necessary forms that you give your clients when they come in, or, however frequently you do it, if you do questionnaires, new patient forms. What if these were already created for you so that when your customer or when your client came in to see you for a service, they could have already filled them out, printed them so that you can go ahead and start the work together. And some of these are the new client form, client medical history form, authorization to disclose, and the HIPAA compliance. And additionally, how would your web developer know, A, to provide these for you, and B, what to provide if they don't understand this industry? So another reason it's so important to have a web developer that is steeped in this work, because, we understand that this is the way of the business and this is the process of things. Why does industry-specific content matter? I kind of touched on this with the search engine optimization piece as well. It's your story and it's your gateway. It's what's going to get people from the search, at their computer to call you, to come into your office. You want it to be engaging. It has to be relevant to what you do. It has to be compelling so that people are interested in it. Rotating content, it's part of search engine optimization as well. It's recommended from the search engines that you rotate your content out so that your website is viewed as, quote, modern and fresh and up to date. And, it's about changing it out quarterly, even monthly if you can is ideal. And it's about having those industry-specific keywords. They're essential for search engine optimization. So people underestimate the power of really effective content. It's one of the major keys in ranking high in those search engines. What are these mental health business tools? These are the tools that are convenience factors for your clients. All of a sudden your clients can make payments for their sessions through your website. E-commerce capability. Now all of a sudden you can buy and sell products, have a store. People can make appointment requests, and you can be emailed to notify you that someone has requested appointment. These client management tools. You've got professional email. You can, have a, if I use the example of GreerVanDykeTherapy.com, I could have, Greer at GreerVanDykeTherapy.com or contact at GreerVanDykeTherapy.com. It's all about that consistency as well. Those mental health online resources, you want links, you want outsourced information so that clients can have other places to go if they have questions on other kinds of topics and, want to know more information about other things outside of the sessions that y'all have together. And social media integration, have people like you and follow you through your website. Have those Facebook and Twitter widgets integrated into your website so that people can see that you're doing all these different things, that you're listed all these different places, and that you're engaged in social media. Social media is huge these days. The bandwidth and the audience that is represented on social media is incredibly large. And for you, it's confidence knowing that all of this is HIPAA compliant. Again, it goes back to that. It's so important. This is the field of the work, and you don't want to risk that. You don't want to risk losing your license for anything, as far as not being HIPAA compliant. So where is your web developer? How available is your web developer if you're using one right now? And how much access do you have to your website? So even if your web developer is available, how often can you access your website? Is it free to access your website? How much does it cost to edit it? You want to work with someone or a team that will give you both the client, technical, and design support, and the full ability for you to access and update your own website, because it's not the web developer's website, it's your website. And looking at mental health is the nature of a changing profession. This is a profession, you all know this. You're constantly updating, your aesthetic, you're updating your orientation, you're gleaning new philosophies, and you've got new inspirational, quotes and things you want to add, and it's a changing profession, so why be limited to a web developer that won't let you, modify your website to express that. So it's about knowing that mental health is a changing profession, and we want to make it easy for you in that way. This is where your web developer could be. This is just another image that's just kind of hits home. It's like, you're calling your web developer endlessly, and this is where he is. Number 3, not being listed on directories. Again, this is the teamwork aspect. Directories are essential. You want to be linked in. Your website must be listed online. Search engines and local listings. It's about Google, Yahoo, Bing, and it's about Google Maps, Bing Maps, and Yahoo Local. The top general online directory is about being listed on all of these as well, Yellow Pages, Super Pages. Facebook has a directory. Comcast has a directory. You wouldn't believe the places people search to try and find something through directories. So it's about those general ones as well, and it's also about the industry-specific directories, therapy-related directories, Psychology Today, the biggest one. An industry-familiar web developer knows exactly where you should be listed. It's not something that's all of a sudden, a huge question for everyone and everyone's sitting around twiddling their thumbs. It's something that, someone who understands this field gets. This is just, a mental image for you guys. Link building connects your website to the world. This is your website in the middle, and you've got all of these links and directories pointing to it. So if you're listed on Psychology Today and your website is listed there, I guarantee you it enhances the probability of someone, reaching out and calling you. It just does. You want your website to be the center of your online universe. Number 4, that cohesive business branding. This fan here, he is decked out in Lakers gear. It's not like he's mishmashing all these different sports and teams. And no, he is dedicated to this business branding, and it's about that cohesiveness. What is the value of it? You want your business cards, appointment cards, letterheads, and envelopes. Are you sending out marketing postcards and mailings? Do you have brochures? You want all of this to be consistent with the brand of your business. Creating the brand of who you are, what does it do for you? It gives you professionalism. It gives you consistency, and it communicates a really unified message. And trust me, for your clients and potential clients, that goes such a long way. So it's about being cohesive. Here we have your website on the left. Does your branding match your website? There are business cards, there are letterheads, and there are postcards, If they don't match, what is that cohesiveness? What is that consistency? And what kind of message is it really bringing to your clients? So a little bit of a recap. What have we talked about today? Not having a website. Are you going to sit on the sideline and watch, 2, not having an industry-specialized website developer. Are you on the basketball team with a hockey coach? Does your web developer get this industry? Number 3, not being listed on directories. It's about the team. Are you networked in? It's essential. And number 4, that huge fan. He has cohesive business branding. It's about that unified message, that professionalism, and that accountability that you need to communicate to your clients and your potential clients. So my name, again, is Greer Van Dyke. I'm here with TherapySites.com. And here at TherapySites, bottom line is we provide all-inclusive online marketing solutions that include everything that I've talked about. So we've got you set up with that professional website design. We're having you play the game. We're not having you sit on the sideline. We've got that specialized mental health web service. You're on the basketball team, you've got the best basketball coach in the practice. We get this industry. We are steeped in this world, and we love this world, of psychology and mental health. We're doing your search engine optimization for you. We're not only putting you on all of the major search engines, but all the local listings as well. We are networking you online. We're putting you on all of those general and industry-specific directories. So it's about the team. We are hooking you up with a huge team of directories. And it's that cohesive and affordable matching products. We have a TherapySites store that matches your website with all of those business products. So it's about that unified message. And not only all of that, you guys, we give you unlimited customer and technical support and design support. We are in it with you. We're partnered with you. All of this is only $59 a month. And the way TherapySites works, we don't do contracts, no setup fees, no additional or hidden fees. We don't like that, and we are not in the business of misleading you in any way. We just want to set you up with really great and effective presences online. So this is something that we don't do anywhere else. For those who are attending the webinar right now, the first 10 people to email me are going to get 3 months free. This is a huge deal, you guys. Email me at greer@therapysites.com. What I'm telling you, I am going to work specifically with you one-on-one to understand your needs, see what you want out of a website. You know, I'll touch base with you. I would be psyched to hook you up. We are going to give you a rocking online presence. We make websites that are designed to get you new clients, first-class customer service, and if you aren't satisfied, you know, after those 3 months, obviously, you know, 100% money-back guarantee. We want to be in this with you. It's an amazing deal. You know, we have a whole team who's ready to assist. We get this market, like I said, and we really want to, you know, change things for you in a really amazing way. So definitely email me. I'm psyched to hear from you. And for those who are not in the top 10, I still want you to win. Still email me, greer@therapysites.com. I'm going to set you up with 1 month free. This is also great. It even gives you a huge, you know, cushion of free service. It gives you a live website free for a month. You know, go ahead and get you search engine optimized and linked in all those directories, you know, and really make you marketable effectively online. And for those of you who aren't watching live, you know, definitely call me. My number is 706-714-6500, or also email me at greer@therapysites.com using the promo code webinar, and I will set you up with your first month free. I'm really excited to get you guys going. I'm excited to, you know, be in conversation with you about it and just partner with you in having you set up with a really, really great and effective website. So that's all that I've got. Thank you so much for attending. I really enjoyed presenting this. I love this work, and hope you enjoyed the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Greer. That was wonderful. And thank you, everyone, for attending. This concludes the webinar for today. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to email Greer at Greer, @therapysites.com. And likewise, if you have any other questions related to the webinar, or you would like a recording sent to you, please feel free to email me at Sarah, S-A-R-A, @therapysites.com. We're really glad you were able to make it today, and we hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks so much. Goodbye.